Hello, welcome back. I'm streaming again. A bit late, but I'm here. And I have this bug. And I'm still trying to fix this bug. I took a break on Wednesday, played some Tingus Goose, made great progress after the stream by getting through 2 more levels of Tingus Goose. And then yesterday, I ran D&D. That means that between the last stream, because I had an interview that went, okay? Question mark? At the end of it. And now I have had no brain to give towards Unreal. And I feel bad. I feel bad because I just want to get the fundamentals of this game going and then make the game. But a higher priority than that is learning Unreal. That's why we're down here in the muck and the mire, in the trenches, as it were, to learn this stuff. To that end, I'm looking back through some basic documentation on oof, 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 ah, on Unreal. So, real quick, let me get this, move over there for a second. Do that. Here's what's going on. Here my game, right? We got player 1 in the big window and player 2 in the small window. Player 1 real quick. Let's take care of some of these enemies so they don't attack me while we're doing other stuff. Alright, now see, in player 1 screen, I hit 1 and I got a pistol. I hit 2 and I get my rifle, and I can go back and forth, and that all works just super well. And if I hit the same button again, I put the gun away. And then on this other player's screen, look, I don't have a gun. I don't have a gun. I don't have a gun. Right? That's never mind the missing heads. But let's go and look over here. For player 2, because of replication things, and this has been through, like, I've got replication working in a whole bunch of ways and a whole bunch of different things. There's something going on in my weapon manager component, which is a component I created following a tutorial. Now, what I wanted to do was go back to that tutorial and see if that guy mentions replication and multiplayer. If he specifically says you can't do it this way and have it work on multiplayer, and then I've been trying to and it hasn't worked. But here's what happens. I got a gun. Then I hit 2, and it puts it down, and it's the rifle. And I bring it back up. But if you look closely, I'm also still holding the gun. This, and that's not the way any of this is supposed to work at all. And then I can't shoot. But only player 2. You just saw player 1 shooting. So this is purely replication issue. Now, the game originally that I was making is single player. So a bunch of the systems I made were single player, and now I am retroactively going back to core systems and adding multiplayer. Because as a game designer, content and systems, I've never touched that before. I've been handed instructions, so I wanted to understand it. I wanted to learn that pain. Everyone keeps talking about it. And I knew it was painful. And so far, everything else, enemy attacks, they've worked. Get this. My phone's ringing. Hold on, stream. Hold on. Yes. I'm like, job stuff? Job stuff? But no, eye doctor stuff. That's okay. Where was I? What was I doing? I was showing the game not working. Get out of here, Pi window. Anyways, that's what we're up against. So we've got a whole bunch of logic spread between different things. So I'll go over it super quick. Ready? Ready? This is an ability that everybody has. It's called Equip Weapon. And this works. You hit a button and stuff happens. Goes through and says, what gun do you want? What weapon do you want? And every weapon I add to the game will have to go through here. I don't really need the enemy weapon on here, but it's there for testing purposes. Anyways, it says, oh, you hit the button for the rifle. All right, so we're passing in the weapon class. It's BP, Blueprint, Pixel Rifle. That's the class. And it takes that information over here and goes blurp, and here's the weapon. There's the weapon class. Now, this works for the server. It comes over here, says, oh, is your character valid? Get that weapon. If the incoming weapon is valid and we have no weapon equipped, switch. If the incoming weapon is valid and we have a different weapon, switch. If the incoming weapon is no weapon, unequip. Pretty straightforward. This works on the server. This part does not work on the client. This all works. All of this works. It says, is the equipped weapon that you currently have the same weapon as the one coming in? If yes, unequip it. Put your gun away. No, I have the pistol equipped and I hit the button for the rifle. It's different. Unequip weapon. And then go through the process to equip the new weapon. Whenever it equips it, it's here, set with notify. So replication is a thing. Components, other kinds of data can be replicated, rep notify. Events can be not replicated or multicast or run on server. And then an idea. I think I did. Okay, so here. Okay, what? No. I think I'm running in circles. So I think I had the same idea before. I think this. Okay, wait a minute. Wait a minute. My brain. Did my brain shut off? No. I had to message the missus about the eye doctor phone call. See, look at that. Here I am, just trying to figure out this problem in life and truths. Here I am trying to work on my own game, but I need a job. This is lower priority than that. Unless I was independently wealthy, then this would be fun and I'd just do it and then release it. But I ain't. Independently wealthy, that is. All right, here's my thought. Should this be run on server? Should these... Is this the problem? So this is replicated already because the game playability system replicates stuff internally. Firing a bullet, super jump, taking in damage and healing, changing stats, all replicated already. It already has an internal system. It's a black box. From my point of view, it's probably not with access to C++, but The way all this other stuff works is I cannot directly say this and expect it's going to work correctly. It's got to run on the server. Part of the problem is likely that I got to do something that is just disgusting. But I'm going to try it just with I'll try it with both of them. And what is this thing? Adding a function. No. Come on, brain. Adding an event. Say I'm going to say run on client. Here's what you'll see what I mean by disgusting. Wait, how am I going to do this? I need the switch on gameplay tag. See, the question is this already running on the server? I think so. But does this need, wait a minute. Where's my first person character? Weapon manager. It replicates already. All right. I'm just checking. I'm grasping at straws, which is why, or before I do any of this crazy, stupid stuff, because what I was going to do is say, okay, I can't just call equip weapon. I'm going to have to say run it on the client, and then the client just points to an event that says run equip weapon, and then we change equip weapon to run on server. A remote procedure call. And for a lot of reasons, I think I need to figure this out before Monday. All right, so I actually did this before then, because I remember this error message. I'm not going to do that. We're going to go over here. We're not going to do this either. Because I tried multicast on here, and I'm pretty sure that crashed the game. Because I don't think I need to do that. But in the meantime, let's get our ducks in the row. Quackity quack. I guess you're wondering, what is replication? It's the act of the server passing information to and from the clients, of course. It can be specific entities or groups, mostly perform replication according to the settings on the affected actor. First class, which is capable of replicating properties, is the actor A actor. Not sure what that means. I've just been calling actors actors. Should I go actor? I can also replicate unreal objects, universal objects. I don't know. They are replicated with the AI. So I have some sort of AI actor to handle the replication. For example, you objects is support being recorded with not just for working by as an actor component. Oh, of all the before mentioned classes inherent from some point in the ability to replicate properties if needed, then not all of them need to do it this way. A game mode isn't replicated at all, only exists on the server, and a HUD only exists on clients. Yeah. Okay. So what this is basically saying is that the server is the only trusted source of information. You can predict certain things on a client, but for important things, the server is going to tell each client what's going on. You shoot a bullet, the server says you shot a bullet. You do damage, the server says you've done damage. Clients can figure out when, but if the client does something and the server is like no, then it's going to unhappen. How to use replication. The application can be activated on the class defaults constructor of a actor child class. B replicates such true will be spawned and replicated on all clients if spawned by the server and only when spawned by the server. Constructor and code. Not doing code, but that's okay. Client spawns this actor will only exist on this very client. Decals, for example, are bullet holes in the wall that are meaningless. They're just little textures slapped onto a specific thing. Server doesn't need to worry about that. It has the bullet. Whenever the bullet applies a decal because it hit something, the clients can handle that kind of stuff. They don't need to bother the server. He's busy. In the replication drop-down menu to replicate and ensure this variable gets replicated. All replicated instances of this actor. Variables can be replicated under certain conditions. Replicated variables are marked with 2 white circles. All right, we got that. And we're not doing C++. Blue, 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 blue. It's important to understand the whole replication process only works from server to client and not the other way around. Learn later how to get the server to replicate something that the client wants to share with others, for example, their player name. A different way to replicate a variable is to mark it as replicated using. In Blueprints, this is called rep notify. It allows a specifying function that gets called on the client when a new value of the variable is replicated to them. In Blueprints, this function will be created automatically once you select rep notify in the replication drop-down menu. We do this. What? It's important to note here, C++ and Blueprints handle rep notify slightly differently. In C++, rep notify functions only call for the clients. When a server changes the value and requires the onRep function to call to, you will need to call it manually after adjusting the variable. That's because the onRep function is meant as a callback for when the variable is replicated to the client. Blueprints, however, the onRep function will call for clients and server. Because the BP version of onRep is a property change callback. This means the function will call for the server too, but also for the client if the client changes the variable locally. All right. We don't need to worry about that because we're blueprinty people. We're not learned enough. I've used C++. It's actually I went to college for it, but I never had a class where I wrote a single line of code after 3 years. Be careful what college you go to. No procedure call uses another instance. Your TV remote does the same thing with your television. The Unreal Engine uses, that's a nice little analogy. Unreal Engine uses to send events from client to server and server to client to a specific group. These RPCs can't have a return value. To return something, you need to use a second RCP in the other direction. RCPs only work under certain rules. They're listed in this table, which can be found in the official documentation. Run on server is meant to be executed on the server instance of this actor. Run on owning client is meant to be executed on the owner of this actor. Net multicast is to be executed on all instances of this actor. It must be called on actors or a replicated sub-object, like a component. The actor and component must be replicated. Hmm. 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 Pretty sure the characters are replicated. Let's put it up here. I mean, it says replicates. I'm sure all these things are important in their own way. Sure, at some point I have to look up a list. Oh, you can't see it. Be gone. All right, here we are in the third person character, making sure that they're replicated. They are always relevant to the network. Are they? Are the other players always relevant to the network? Right now, it hasn't been a problem. It could be a problem. I don't know if it's not. But we're learning, and learning is the point. The remote procedure call is being called by the server to be executed on a client. Only the client who owns the actor will execute the function. The RPC is called on a client to be executed on the server. The client must own the actor the RPC is being called on. Multicast are the exception. If they're called on the server will execute them locally as well as execute them on all currently connected clients which have an instance of that actor that is relevant. They are called from clients. Multicast will only execute locally and will not execute on the server or other clients. Important to know. For now, we have a simple throttling mechanism for multicast events. Multicast function will not replicate more than twice in a given actor's network update period. Long-term, Apple expects to improve on this. All right. Might be one of the reasons why this isn't working. Because a lot of times I'm saying run only on client, and then I'm sending it to a run on server from the client. But these are not true in the case. It's owned by the invoking client through a replicated component. And we are validating that right here. Equipping weapon would do nothing if the owning character wasn't valid. And I just tried replicating this data, and it didn't matter because all it is just a reference to the player. It doesn't need to get shared around. All right, shrinking this down a little bit. Run on server. Yeah, we've been doing that. Okay, we've been doing that. Don't mark every RPC as reliable. Okay, what does that mean? RPCs can't have a return value, so functions can't be used to create them. The reliable checkbox can be used to mark the RPC as important, trying to ensure that the RPC is not dropped. Don't mark every RPC. Don't do it. Look at that. It's warning you. Take heed. You only do this on RPCs which are called once in a while and require them to reach their destination. Calling reliable RPCs on tick can have side effects, such as filling the reliable buffer. Yes, it's a performance thing. Like a boot camp. Ownership is something very important to understand. You already saw a table that contained items like client server or clients can own an actor. Example is the player controller, which is owned by the local player. Another example would be a spawn placed door in the scene. This will mostly be owned by the server. If you check out the table from earlier again, you'll notice that, for example, server RPC will drop if a client calls it on an actor they do not own. So if the client can't call server interact on a server-owned door, how do we work around that? And here's what we've been doing. We use a class actor that the client owns, and this is where the player controller starts to shine. I already had a similar example when discussing the player controller class when we sent an RPC to increment value based on a user widget button press, which I skipped. It goes, press E, server interact, interact. So instead of trying to enable input on the door and calling a server RPC there, we create a server RPC in the player controller and let the server call the interface function on the door. All right, so this is the thing where I was just trying to do that here. Where you say, this calls a custom event that's run on client, and the run on client calls a custom event that's run on server. This calls this thing that calls that. Which is still different than what I'm doing. Interfaces are nothing multiplayer specific, and I highly recommend looking them up if you don't know about them yet. Interfaces are useful as heck. Passing data between entities and checking for things. It's kind of weird because, so there's a thing, it's not just in the Unreal Engine, but in a lot of tools, where it's like, hey, You want to do this thing. Here's the simplest example. You want to increment this. All right. You can take the thing, like this int value, and then you could say, all right, now you now equal 1 plus your current value. That's what we're setting your new value to. Or you could just do plus plus, which is increment. So that plus plus, I mean, it makes sense in a simple example, but it's literally kind of a black box. Because in one example, you are the one putting the nodes down, and you are explicitly adding 1, and there's a flow to it, and you understand that flow, but just to increment it, you just do the thing, and if you know about it, it just works. Right? Super basic example, but there's other things in many, many, many tools, not just engines. I've run into this in like mission tools and stuff too, where there's things that you do that are just, you just do them. You just get this chain of logic going in whatever format, and they happen. But then there's something else that breaks that, the way that logic works. And it looks similar and it sounds similar, but it's real easy to use wrong. Interfaces are a little bit more robust than that. Interfaces can have some functionality on them, but also if I just like on my power system, I just have an interface that is powered. And whenever I put power to something, I say, is the thing you're trying to power, does it have this interface? And if no, it doesn't do anything. Just by virtue of that thing having an interface on it, basic functionality, you can check on that. You can say, hey, does implement interface? You don't have to pass a value. You don't have to cast to something and say, hey, what variables you got on you. You just say, the thing, you've overlapped a thing. Does it have the interface on it? No? All right, stop. Yes? All right, do the thing. Super nice, super straightforward. And then you can have more functionality inside than that. That's where it gets a little hairy. That's where it gets, because it can't pass everything. It doesn't, when does that get triggered? You're not, you, you pull it, trust me, it's kind of confusing. Each connection has a player controller specific for that connection. Player controller is created for that reason is owned by the connection. Boy, I really want to get this solved in the next 5 minutes. They're possessed by the player controller during that time. Player controller is the owner of the possessed pawn. This means the connection that owns the player controller also owns the pawn. This is the case while the player controller is possessing the pawn. Okay, why is this important? RPCs need to determine which client will execute a run-on client RPC. Actor replication of the connection relevancy. Actor property replication conditions when the owner is involved. I'd rather RPCs react differently. You call the client relevancy. What is relevancy? Imagine having a game with levels mapped big enough players could count as unimportant to other players. Why would player A need to get network updates from player B if they're miles apart from each other to improve bandwidth? It tells clients about actors that are in the client's relevant set. And rule applies the following rules. It's always relevant, it'll be relevant. Marked as B net user owner relevancy and has an owner. User's owner relevancy only relevant to owner and does not pass the first check. It is not relevant, it is attached to the skeleton of another actor, and its relevancy is determined by the base if the actor is hidden. Then we're game manager. Okay. All right. Yes. All right. That's all good info. It doesn't help me in this specific case, and I'm not searching for it with AI today. They've already twice, 4 times across 2 AIs tried to trash this whole thing because they think that they know what they're talking about. And even if I talk to an AI and they got it right, they go through the steps pretty regularly. Maybe I could learn from that. I'm not against it. I'm not entirely opposed to searching for something and having the AI kind of spit something out if it's right. Imagine a world where the AI is actually right and you could rely on it. Oh, then some of these investments would make sense then, instead of just seeming like burning money. We know this does stuff. We don't need to worry about that. This does stuff. When we do stuff, This does stuff. Right? If that didn't work, then me pressing this button on the client would not work. Nothing else frickin' works, but we know that that part works. We don't need to worry about replication for that lone thing. This is getting called. Gonna do another thing. Get the display name. Print string. I had my druthers. Maybe I'll work on this weekend. I don't know. All right, real talk. I know I don't have an audience yet. I don't know if I ever will, because I need to like advertise myself and get the word out. And some of these streams, boy, they show the process, but I have to defend them. Like if I had an interview and they're like, "I watched your stream where you couldn't figure out this basic stupid thing, you moron," and I have to defend myself and what streams are about because this is not main development time. This is stream time, and it's slightly different, right? You get. Anyways, if I get a job, maybe I'll run these on the weekends or something. I might not even be allowed to do this depending on the job. A lot of places are like, no, you can't stream. We're not going to sit down and approve everything you say because you're going to be talking for the company no matter where you are, what you say. You could even say with a disclaimer that's always on the screen that you say every 5 minutes that these are my own opinions and experiences and do not reflect the company I work for, and that won't be enough. They just won't let you do it. So we'll see. You got to learn to live with ambiguity and have patience. I know it's frustrating. Heart to heart talk. You just get freaking used to it. Don't think about way off in the future. Think good thoughts. Good thoughts about way off in the future. Those are nice. But worrying about it, it ain't going to change anything. I know it's a cornerstone of stoicism. Like imagine the worst case scenario so you're more prepared when it happens. You're never going to be ready for the reality of a bad situation. What you need to do is just make sure that you can react to the things that happen. You can go and make things happen. You can make plans. As long as there's plans that are like your actions with a desired outcome. The world, oh, it'll impose plans on you. There's no way to anticipate it. So you got to be able to react to those appropriately. And if there's something in the future that looks like it's going to happen that you're fearing, you can think about it a bit. Just enough that you can kind of remind yourself of what your actions, your reactions would be in that situation. Then stop. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I don't know what's going to happen 10 seconds from now. I have a fair bit of certainty for the 10-second scenario. I'm going to be sitting here blathering to you guys still. But tomorrow? A week? A month? A year? A decade? No way of knowing. I can hypothesize terrible, terrible, terrible things and work myself up into a crazy, just a nasty tizzy about everything. And I've done that before. And you know what that does? It hurts me. That's me hurting me. Don't do it. Good things can happen too. And if you react to things appropriately, it's the only way to try to have any good come out of any situation. Just remember that. Anyone who's ever watching this, if you're like, oh, your Unreal stuff is junk, I know you're learning, but boy, I can't get anything out of these streams, whatever. Just take that one lesson. That's it. Anxiety doesn't change things. And I know anxiety itself can't be controlled, but you can put yourself into a state over time of lots of anxiety by worrying about stuff outside your control instead of trying to train yourself to have good reactions. Halloween, scary thing jumps out of a dumpster at you. Do you scream and fall down? Is that the reaction you want? Legs giving out? Something scary happens? No. You want to react in a way where you can still think rationally during a scary situation. I'm not going to tell you how to work on that specific scenario, but that's what you do. You can think about those scenarios. You can train yourself to have different reactions. One funny video where someone jumps out of a dumpster to scare someone, the person they scared just punches them in the face. Probably, maybe not the best reaction, because that's also a very visceral reaction. I think it's better than screaming and falling down. The heck am I talking about? We were doing this so I could see what the heck weapon we were equipping. We're doing this to see what the game thinks is happening. So it's giving me 2 reports because it's client and server. So it says, hey, that's your equipped weapon. Remember, the bottom of these readouts is the first thing that happens. The top is the freshest thing. Uh-oh. Oh, no, he didn't see me. It's like a little dude going down those patrol points. Oh, he's actually on a path. So I got the pistol. Got the rifle. Okay. So we're doing that. That seemed okay. Now, this did nothing. Get name. Get off my screen. Get object name. Print string. Well, maybe that was preventing that one error. It kept yelling at me for invalid stuff. Because I can't actually set this to something invalid. Anyway, let's just see what happens. So they're saying that's the right stuff. Wait a minute. All right, well, I'm not holding it at my side anymore. Okay, I am whenever I do 1 to 2. All right, utility of this is very limited. Okay, it gets those errors. Does doing this eliminate those errors? No. Why didn't it come up with the right thing? Is valid. This thing. If you get to the part where it says destroy the thing and it's valid, destroy it. And it's not valid, set the thing. But it's going to try to set it with a null value if it's already not valid. Right? That's what's going to happen? Wait, I'm just going to test this. You don't need to see this. Secret test. Bit, 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 bit. No errors that time. Next test. Do I need to do a rep notify thing here after destroying that actor? It needs to know what the animation is. What happens? It destroys stuff on the server. No errors. All right, maybe I need to change the logic so it's not checking for valid or invalid, and I have an unarmed weapon that gets equipped whenever there's nothing else there. How's that sound? Eh? Well, don't. You're not rep notify. You're still rep notify, right? Okay. None weapon. Compile. Editing this class value object is not allowed. All right, well, we're not going to do it then, are we? We're going to do something else. We're going to add none weapon as BP weapon base. Oh my goodness. Weapon base. Thank goodness you can't see how bad my typing is right now. It's still just saying none. So inside this component manager, I can't actually directly reference something. Am I going to have to make a whole unarmed thing? Is that the answer to get this to work correctly? Am I going to have unarmed as a selection? Because it's getting here. This is running. It's just not getting this value correctly. I'm going to take another peek. It still says unknown. Said it's valid. Said it destroyed it. Looks destroyed. Wow. No. I'm not even showing you guys. What's up with me? Alright, I need to show this. Haha! OBS. Please work. Alright. The copyright strike. Alright, well, it's destroying the pistol, but it's not destroying the rifle. Hold on. Hello. Alright. Look at the player one screen. This is what the server is seeing. Pistol. No pistol. Pistol. No pistol. Pistol. No pistol. Rifle. No rifle. Rifle. No rifle. Rifle. Pistol. Why does the server think I have a pistol equipped? Pistol. Pistol will never go away now. I can't destroy the pistol. And when I hit escape, okay, no errors anymore because I did the validation check. You know, I'm so sick of this bug. I know it's part of development figuring this stuff out. I'm going to have to work on this over the weekend. I really am. Because all the other multiplayer stuff I've fixed that works just fine. Works in a way that's already similar to this. And they just work. But this only works. Do I have to replicate this too? Set unarmed weapon properties, which is up here. So I don't think that's going to fix it. Does this? Okay, I got to see if this works now. Okay. See, that still fires on the server. The server still sees that. The very beginning, I wonder. Because this says it's running on the server. Let's make sure. Get out of here, non-weapon. We don't need you. All right. Here we go again. Like, I've introduced a bubble. Because this wasn't working correctly before. And I'm trying to fix it. It's like I'm squeezing a bubble out. Yeah, it just stops destroying it on the server. And there's a ton of errors now. It's just refusing to destroy the weapon. Do I need to replicate? Are the weapons replicated? Pixel pistol. Get out of my screen. Yeah, you're replicated. Same thing with the rifle, probably. I mean, changing that isn't going to do anything, but it should probably be checked anyways. Multiplayer, why you gotta be like this? You do not have to. Oh, yeah, I should change it. Here on the base. Players across the map, we don't care about their pistol. Maybe. I'm not an expert at this. I'm an expert at gameplay stuff. But I'm trying. Despite constant failures. Because look at this. Just works. Shoot, switch, shoot. That stuff works. Why does it drift off like that? That I don't know. Blah. Work. It still said it was running into none. Oh, it's the same thing. Even though it was player 1, it doesn't like that. And it doesn't work. So we don't need it. Because we're still getting rid of things here. And then it's going set with notify, and that runs on the server, and that says to run this. And just setting this to run on server doesn't mean anything at all. Right? Still can't shoot. Yeah, it's that part where it's supposed to switch instead of get rid of them. It's so close. And that part of the component weapon manager is up here. So is the weapon class... I mean, it's getting passed, right? The server understands where this is. Yeah, I really need to do a deep dive. I might have to ask some friends I know what the heck's going on. Because that works. Although he's not getting rid of anything now on the client. What did I break? Did I just break? No, because I made this run on server. Try something real quick. You can't see. It's a secret. Ah. Yeah, he should never have that down. That didn't help. That didn't do anything. That didn't do anything. I'll undo my secret change. Well, instead of chewing your ear off with this, and then chewing in your ear, if this is the last stream I had and you're actually watching this, thanks for showing up. Thanks for watching it all. It's the crazy little stuff of just a guy trying to learn Unreal stuff that he's not used to, not really ever getting to the fun meat of it. But it was not my last stream. I'll see you next stream. Who knows? Not me. So I'm not going to worry about it. Bye, everyone.